All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your break. So next up, we have Matt Fessler with Lincoln Financial Group to go over defined contribution best practices during volatile markets. Matt, go ahead.
Justin, can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Awesome. No, thanks for allowing us to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. Want to thank Definiti for allowing us to be here. My name is Matt Fessler. I'm one of our regional sales directors here at the firm. I cover the New England area. And I mean, look at the title of the presentation I was going to just briefly cover here this afternoon. Seize opportunity through instability. Best practices for DC professionals in a volatile market. I can't think of a day where you have more disruption in the year than election day, right? So good timing on our part to kind of go through this material, and I hope it's helpful. So I'll get started here. So embracing volatility for a competitive edge. I was going to kind of break this down into really, two fronts that we're seeing for people. The first is, on the left side where you look at the two boxes here, we talk about, being proactive with current clients, and engaging participants. And what I wanted to kind of throw out here is, obviously I'm in the field, right in front with advisors every day, bringing on new plans, servicing existing ones. And the way that I think advisors in this environment need to be thinking here as we end 2022, get into 2023 is if you have plans on the books now, you have to be proactive. You have to be proactive. There's a plan that I was just helping an advisor out with that's been with Lincoln for just over 5 years out in Nantucket. And the advisor wanted to do an education meeting for the trustees and for the plan participants. And we helped him organize the meeting. And the best way that we did that is we kind of looked at the investment menu that he had, right? He had mutual funds, index funds, target dates. And he also had a managed account feature that no one was using. And everybody knows what the market's been doing this year and how it's been a struggle, for many 401k participants. And one of the things that we talked about was, number one, let's educate participants on the benefits of a managed account. Because there's a lot of participants, as many advisors know, that are scared, don't know how to manage it on their own because plans are what? Participant directed. So we engage them for about 10 minutes or so, on the managed account feature, and it was great. We actually had the advisors tell me, about half the people in the room, we had about 25 participants, about half of them wanted to engage in terms of moving their money to the managed account feature because they like the fact that it was managed for them, right? So again, I think engaging participants on things they're not using from an investment standpoint is critical right now. The other thing to be proactive with, and we're going to talk about this throughout the presentation, and it really came up in this meeting, is when you're sitting down with trustees, it's always important to engage them around how the plan's running, right? Administratively, how's the plan running for you? And one of the key areas that I would tell you to jot down is asking your current clients how payroll is running. We had a client, this client in Nantucket was saying, we use ADP payroll and it is still manual for us. And one of the things that we suggested was, well, we have a payroll integration service that we can use to take that step away from you. We found out as we left the meeting with the advisor that plan was probably in danger because of how manual payroll was. And the advisor didn't realize that. So just adding a service like that was critical. So again, it's easy to say, be proactive with clients, but I think it's working smarter, not harder, right? I think it's looking at what's in your tool chest to work with from the investment side. And I think being able to adapt to some of the new offerings that are out there that I'm going to talk about also later in this presentation is really important to let people know about. One of them is managed accounts. And then obviously, looking at the administrative stuff that people have. And then on the, the last two boxes here on the right-hand side of the screen, we talk about, pursuing prospects. One of the areas that Lincoln is working really well with partners like Definiti on is around helping advisors strengthen strengthen center of influence relationships that you have, right? And if you have a pen and paper, I would ask you to jot some of these groups down. Okay. And again, we could work with you, at Lincoln in terms of, how to work on this and also with our partners at Definiti. But if you know of any CPA firms, the first one I would tell you to write down. CPAs, property and casualty groups, associations, chambers, credit unions, local payroll companies, just general insurance agencies, those 7, right? The conversation to write down under those 7 is, this is what we call the $1 million question, right? Is to say, Mr. or Mrs. head of the chamber or head of the association or, head of the PNC firm. Do you currently offer a 401k program to your business owner clients or members? And they're going to say, no, Mr. or Mrs. Financial Advisor, why would I even consider doing that, right? If we have an opportunity at the PNC firm or the association, we'll refer to you or another financial advisor. So that's the objection that we see people get. And the way to handle that is to say, well, we could help you set up your own 401k program. And if any of your business owner clients or members saw the value of joining it, we could build it where you get 5 basis points of revenue every year on every plan that comes in. And this really came from the first Secure Act, where we're able to create programs for COI groups. And as you can imagine, this is a great way where advisors are bringing in plans, right? It's different than a MEP and a PEP. We're doing this with Definiti. I work with Julie Casey up in the New England area, and we have a couple of opportunities that we work on and also are exploring with advisors. And it's just a great way to pursue prospects that's a little bit different than the traditional method of cold calling and just going after single plans. If there's questions, obviously can answer those later. And obviously too, like lean on Lincoln, right? Lean on people like myself around the country, that can help you, with some of the new rules and opportunities that are out there. I talked about it with that Nantucket case, but it can't be overstated, right? You got to be proactive with your clients. Create your offense. It's always the best defense, right? I'm living it right now with some advisors this year. There was a really big plan that we were looking to chase down with an advisor that had an ambulance company that he was supporting for a number of years. It was a $10 million plan. And the advisor was like, I know I need to benchmark this. It's primed to be benchmarked. I need to review it. And this went on for about 10 months. And then in July, when I called him up, he's like, Matt, I just lost the plan. And I can't believe it because I wasn't proactive of getting in front of the client. And I hear that story more often than not when advisors are not being proactive with benchmarking their plans and getting in front of them, right? Another one that I'm dealing with that's a little bit more positive is I have a advisor who works on a governmental plan, a 457, and he's been very proactive on trying to cut the fees in half on his one block that he works with on a vendor, and there's 2 other vendors that are in the 457. And he went to the treasurer just a couple weeks ago and was saying, hey, I want to look at doing a benchmark and doing this. Like, well, we're happy you reached out because we hired a consultant. And we're going to keep you on because you've been so proactive with doing this. And we're firing the other advisors on these other 2 because they haven't done any due diligence. So I tell those 2 stories because, again, they're very real that I'm dealing with right now. But they could be stories that you see, right? I know there's many advisors that have been doing this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Just met with an advisor this morning that been in the business for 43 years. We had coffee this morning. And you've seen it all, right? But it's always about going back to the basics and showing up. I think that's really what plan sponsors are looking for, right? So again, it's all about demonstrating a plan. And when we demonstrate a plan, to plan sponsors, on this slide, I'll break this down like this. I mean, this is how we handle discovery meetings a lot with advisors when they're looking to bring on new plans. But on the left hand side, obviously we're doing this with Definiti here, a TPA partner. It's, in my opinion, it's all about plan design. That's the number one area where an advisor can make a difference. I would ask you to write this question down when you meet with your existing clients or when you're meeting with prospects. Mr. and Mrs. Plan Sponsor, when was the last time you've seen 2 or 3 different plan design alternatives to what you're doing now? It's one of the top 3 questions that I ask in a discovery meeting with an advisor. And the reason why is because most plan sponsors don't know what they don't know. Same thing with financial advisors sometimes, is the census changes. People get hired, they get fired, right? Demographics change in the company. And there's different ways that a third-party administrator like Definiti can add value to that company. Help them save money, help them chase a goal of awarding some key employees. There's a lot of different ways to design local business 401k plans, and it's really important to stay on the forefront to offer those design alternatives. So that's a big question I would tell you to really ask. When it comes to investments, I mentioned this up front. I think one of the challenges that I think our industry is seeing right now still is pushback, to the traditional method of writing retirement plans. A lot of advisors, or plan sponsors, when they think of a retirement plan, they think of mutual funds, index funds, and target dates, right? I've sat in those meetings where a plan sponsor says, what are you going to offer that's different, right? And, I think there's 2 areas that advisors really have to educate themselves on and see that if you're not having this on plans, your plans could be at danger because another advisor might proactively talk about these topics. And the 2 are, I mentioned up front, managed accounts, right? Having that service bolted on as an option that people don't have to use, but it's just an option, is something that many plan sponsors want to hear about. And many participants want to hear about, because there's fear about what to pick. We've done those education meetings where people are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what type of allocation we should pick. And when they hear the value of somebody running it for them, they're going to look to do that. Another area that I wanted to mention as well too is around in-plan annuities. We've seen that really come to the forefront with the Second Secure Act. And another question, we have a slide there to tell people, if you can take a picture of it, on your computer here. But another question that I would tell people to write down that helped us win a plan earlier this year was asking the question of demographics, right? Mr. and Mrs. Plan Sponsor, how would you describe the age demographic of your plan? They're going to say, what do you mean by that? You could say, well, how many people are over the age of 50 or over the age of 40? What percentage? We had a plan that we were prospecting earlier this year with an advisory group. We were going through a line of questions, and we're kind of like, yeah, we have that, we're good. And I came down to the last question, which is around age demographic, and they were like, we have an older plan base, participant base, and we asked, do you offer a personal pension type offering? And that would be the question I would tell you to write down. Do you offer a personal pension type offering? And they said, no. Tell us more. And it was all about, again, just having an option, not forcing people into it, but having an option for in-plan annuities. And Lincoln Financial Group, being a world leader in insurance products, also on the annuity side, we have many solutions there with many investment partners that we work with American Funds, with BlackRock, to name a few, where we have some great solutions that can just be bolted on a plan as an option right now in today's marketplace. And we're seeing a lot of people adapt to it. And I would just tell people on the line right now, be open to that conversation. Because when I reach out to plan advisors and consultants, the first objection I usually hear is, well, Matt, we don't ever hear about it. I've never heard about it. And I'm like, well, yeah, you haven't heard about it because you're not talking about it. And most plan sponsors don't know what they don't know. And if you did talk about it, you might create some opportunity for yourself, either in a prospecting meeting or with an existing client, right? So when we talk about investments, managed accounts, in-plan annuities, we have a lot of strength there, like other record keepers as well too, but particularly in in-plan annuity side where we can help you out. Participant education. I think advisors really need to be open to not feeling that the burden's all on them. We're here to help. Record keepers have a lot of services, whether it's virtually or in person, to help you reach plans. You look at advisors that have more than 10 plans on their books. If they don't have a big team, the ones that are growing plans and feeling comfortable bringing on more plans are the ones that are going to leverage record keeper services to do education and help be an extension of you. And I think it's important to be open to that and engage record keepers on that conversation as well too. And I mentioned the service review. Again, I think these things are really important to bring up. They're not just throwaway things, but I think whether you're doing a review or you're doing a prospecting meeting, asking, is the payroll integrated, right? If they have an audit, there's a new audit rule that came out last year called Statement of Auditing Standards 136. Audits are harder and more expensive with the elimination of limited scope audits. What are you doing to help yourself prepare yourself for 2023 with your audit, right? So again, a lot going on that we could talk about with this slide, but it's important conversations that we're seeing advisors have. This is the one slide I was going to tell people to take a picture of if you have a second. Obviously, we can get these slides out afterwards as well. But again, I think these are just great questions. I covered a lot of these here today. Again, on the last one, our participants asking about or where in-plan guarantees. You're usually going to get crickets, and people are going to say, well, what do you mean by that, right? We have the one on the left-hand side, are you failing testing and highly compensated employees can't contribute? That goes into the plan design alternatives one, right? When was the last time you've seen 2 or 3 different plan design alternatives? So there's a lot of different open-ended questions that we can help you ask. And I think these types of guides, we have question guides here at Lincoln that we can get to advisors to kind of help you be prepared and confident, for meetings that you're doing, with existing plan sponsors or prospects. We talk about engaging participants. This is all about the value of the advisor, right? You look on the right-hand side, employees trust their employer and financial professional for financial guidance, yet only 36% of sponsors agreed that most of their employees will achieve their retirement goals by age 65. So, finding ways to sit down with a financial professional is important. One of the things I always say in education meetings is that, most plans don't have a financial advisor, right? At Lincoln, we only service through financial advisors. Please take advantage of this person that's here that the company's paying for. It's another benefit, right? So there's a great opportunity there for advisors to offer that type of value. This was another slide I was going to have out here that people could take pictures of, just in terms of engaging participants. This goes back to a lot of the, again, services that record keepers offer, but are employees on track for retirement readiness? There's a lot of key performance indicators that record keepers have at our fingertips that we can get an advisor to let them know, hey, here are some employees that we need to target and meet with in an education meeting that aren't contributing enough, that we're worried about. And so I think being targeted with your approach for education is critical right now. And again, we have a question on here about making sure you're doing regular annual or sometimes even semi-annual meetings. I think is really important as well too. And we talk about benchmarking. I think many of you have probably heard from risk attorneys or record keepers, but again, you want to make sure you're benchmarking plans, every 2 to 3 years or every 3 to 4 years. You want to make sure that you're going through an investment options review process. That's something that's very important to do. And you can see some of the studies of when people do them. There's still people that still don't do them. But again, most people, try to get on something where they're doing it annually, maybe even quarterly on some bigger plans as well too. But again, I think elevating the conversation, with what you're doing to make sure things are running is really important. What to explore today. These are one of the last few slides that I had here today, but again, as record keepers, we're still seeing opportunities where plans are in pooled accounts. As plans grow, get north of $1 million, that's a problem, right? When a participant says, hey, I want to change how my funds are invested, and they find out they're just invested in the S&P 500, that's a fiduciary risk if you're in a pooled account, right? So those are great plans to go after. Plans with high administrative fees. I work with Definiti, worked with them now for over 8 years here in New England. And, they're a great vendor to work with that can offer really competitive rates, to help out with on the administrative side of things. And again, on the right-hand side, again, exploring, other investment options within plan annuities, what you're doing with the QDIA, could it be a managed account? that you can introduce that say, hey, this is how you're going to get another enhancement besides just a cost savings, right? There's, again, I think this is another good slide that we have. It's available to take note of. Yeah, this is another one here. If you want to take a picture of, again, we have some guides that you can get from us. But when you're pursuing prospects, I think the hot questions that we're seeing work right now is, again, every advisor focuses on fees, funds, fiduciary, right? How to sound different is to immediately, when you sit in front of somebody, get into their seat and what they're dealing with. And many local business owners, the big problem is administering their plan, right? So ask that question. The number one question that I ask in meetings, if you want to jot this down, is to say, Mr. and Mrs. Plan Sponsor, what are the 2 or 3 administrative burdens that you deal with on a yearly basis with your plan? And they usually respond, what do you mean by that? And I go, how does payroll work? Is it integrated? How do you deal? How's the 5,500 process? Is it easy? Are you confident in what you're signing? How do you deal with annual notices, right? When you're sitting in front of HR professionals, admins, owners, that's what they live every day, whether they're blue collar or white collar. They know what payroll is and they know what their 5,500 is because they have to sign it. But I think asking that up front really disarms them and allows you to branch off to ask about education, ask about fees and benchmarking. But they know up front that you're looking to help make their life easier. And having that type of approach, I find, is ways that we help advisors win plans, in discovery meetings. So just to kind of end here, lean on Lincoln. Obviously I work up here in the New England area. We have a number of wholesalers that can work with the team here with Definiti, but we can help you out. Whether it's benchmarking, we do a certified benchmark report with the Center for Fiduciary Management. Those reports usually cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 when sponsors try to do it on their own. We do it at no cost, right? We really do a great job, I think, at our firm of collaborating with TPA partners like Definiti when we talk about plan design alternatives and showing 2 or 3 different options in every case to say, hey, here are some different ways on your census that we could maybe design your plan. You maybe haven't thought of this way, but a lot of people want to see numbers in front of them from a census standpoint, and Definiti has some great software to kind of help you do that. But again, I just want to thank everybody for Definiti for allowing us to be here. I don't know if there's going to be any questions or anything, but I know I'm kind of right at the time here, so I just want to thank everybody for the time.
Yes, man. Thank you. We do have one quick question, and it's kind of, I think, a 2-parter. Can you elaborate on some of the risks associated with manual payroll? What is the business case for payroll integration and or 316 administration?
Yeah, I know. I mean, over the years, when I talk or, in my territory, I usually have some ERISA attorneys travel with me at least once a year, kind of let advisors ask questions. And again, the number one thing I'm shocked about it, that we're in almost 2023, and the number one issue that our ERISA attorneys say are the problem in the industry is payroll. It's still the number one issue, late deferrals. So you got to bring it up in every meeting, right? In terms of solutions that we have at Lincoln, and I think other record keepers too, right? Is, we have ways that we're integrating 360 with a number of national and regional payroll vendors, but we are working with some outside groups as well too, with some of our products, mostly in the group plan space. We're a group called Payroll Integrations, right? They're a way that we can integrate with, ADP and Paychecks. We work with a group called Payroll 360 as well too. So there's a lot of different avenues that we really try to work to get the integration nowadays. Because in reality, I think that's the way plans are moving. They're not moving unless the payroll's integrated, because they don't want it to be manual if they are going to go through a move. So I hope that answers the question. Any other questions?
That was all the questions we've had submitted. Any other questions out there? No one got a chance to submit? All right. Well, that concludes class for today. We want to give a special thank you to our presenters, Kevin Spaeth with Empower, Definiti's own Erica Masenko, and of course you, Matt Fessler with Lincoln Financial Group. Join us tomorrow for sessions with Voya on completing a complete picture of financial wellness. You can hear about Definiti's newest launch with Plan Sponsor Link and hear from John Hancock on the modern 401k advisor. Thank you all for your time, and we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you.